She showed up on our doorstep with a clipboard and a fake smile. 2 days after I built my treehouse. I was 13, it was summer, and I had just started calling this place home. Her name wasn't Karen, but she had the walk, the tone, the agenda. "Hi there," she said, tapping her nails against the wood of her clipboard. "I assume you're the one building the structure in the oak tree out back?" She didn't wait for an answer. "It's violating height limits, visual compliance standards, and possibly safety codes. I've already filed a report with the HOA. If you've ever built something with your bare hands, sawing, sweating, learning every screw and mistake, you know what that moment felt like someone spit in your face and called it rain. Hey, if you've ever had a neighbor like that, one who made your life harder just because they could, drop a comment and share where you're watching from. Let's not let Karens win without a fight." It started 2 weeks before that moment, on a quiet Thursday evening. We just moved to Oakland Circle, a small, supposedly peaceful suburb an hour outside Denver. Dad had gotten the place cheap after the divorce. It was just the two of us now, him working night shifts as a dispatcher, me navigating the awkward silence of a new school where no one knew me or cared to. The tree was the first thing I noticed. Towering, strong, older than the neighborhood. Its branches were thick and patient, like it had been waiting for someone to climb it again. "That tree's the best part of this place," Dad said when I asked about it. "You want to build something in it? I'll help when I can." The second-hand wood came from a guy Dad worked with. The tools were borrowed. The design, mine. I printed out pictures, sketched blueprints on math homework, watched hours of YouTube. It wasn't pretty, but it was solid. 2 levels, a rope ladder, a small window facing west so I could watch the sunsets alone. I didn't have many friends in the new school. The treehouse became my everything, my own orbit, a place where no one interrupted. I'd spend hours there after school, reading, sketching, sometimes just lying still, hearing the wind push through the leaves. And that's what she hated. The first time I saw her, she didn't even say hello. She just stood in her yard across the fence with her arms crossed, lips tight, staring. Her yard looked like a picture from a real estate brochure. Not a single blade of grass dared step out of line. Her white SUV gleamed in the driveway like it had never known dirt. Her name, I'd learned later, was Dottie Blake. She lived alone, had 2 kids who rarely came outside, and a husband I never saw. That Friday, while I was hammering in the side railing, she marched over. No knock, no greeting. Just, "You can't do that here." She pointed at the tree. "That's an eyesore, and it's unsafe. That's city property anyway." I blinked, unsure what to say. "The tree's inside our fence. My dad said it's part of the lot." Her expression didn't change. "I've lived here 14 years. Never once has someone built a shack in that tree. It lowers the value of every home on this street." I didn't answer. She didn't wait. "I'll be contacting the HOA," she said, already walking away. I tried to shake it off. Maybe she was just bluffing. But by Monday afternoon, a formal-looking envelope was taped to our front door. It had the HOA logo at the top and 3 bold lines of text. Violation notice. Unauthorized structure. Addressed to Alan and Alex Parker. Immediate action required. I opened it before my dad got home. The wording was thick with legal-sounding phrases: visual disruption, potential liability, non-permitted construction. There was even a deadline, 7 days to remove the structure or face formal penalties, including daily fines. When Dad got home that night, he didn't yell, just sighed, read the letter twice, and muttered, "Here we go again." He rubbed his temples. "I'll talk to them. Maybe we can work something out." The next day, he left a message with the HOA board. No one returned the call. Then on Wednesday, a man in a polo shirt with the HOA logo showed up and started taking pictures of the treehouse. From our sidewalk, from the alley, even from our side gate. He never introduced himself, just snapped and scribbled notes. I stayed inside, heart pounding, watching from the kitchen window. I felt like a criminal in my own yard. Dad came home early that day, said we'd fight it. "There's no rule against tree houses in the bylaws," he said. "I read through every page online. They're bluffing." But the pressure didn't stop. That weekend, someone dumped a bag of fast food wrappers on the porch of the treehouse. Sunday night, the rope ladder was cut halfway through. Monday morning, another envelope arrived, this one thicker. It included a notice of hearing with a date, time, and instructions to present any evidence in your defense. I'll go, Dad said, but I want you to stay out of it. Let me handle it. I nodded, but that night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Dottie Blake, how calm and righteous she looked, like she believed she was protecting something important by tearing down what I'd built. I wasn't afraid of her exactly. I was afraid of what she stood for, the kind of person who thought control was the same as order, who saw a treehouse and imagined chaos. That Thursday after school, I found her kids standing by our fence, two of them, boy and girl, around my age. They didn't say anything at first, just stared up at the treehouse. Hi, I said. The boy pointed. You built that? Yeah. Can you see the park from up there? Sort of. It's better at sunset. They stood silently a bit longer. Then the girl asked, Is it scary? Not unless you're scared of heights. They looked at each other, then back at me. Our mom says we're not allowed to climb trees, the boy said, but she's never even seen this. I didn't say anything. The girl shifted. It looks fun. It was the first time I smiled that week. Under the harsh white beam of her flashlight, the world froze. Lily was clutching the side railing, her knuckles pale. Taylor had one foot on the top rung of the ladder but didn't move. I sat between them, pulse pounding in my ears. Below us, Mrs. Blake stood with the flashlight trembling slightly in her hand, her voice sharp and cracking. Come down now. Lily turned to me. Do we have to? Taylor looked between us, then said quietly, She's going to lose it. I'll take the blame, I whispered. You're just guess. But I was wrong. She didn't wait for us to come down. She marched around the yard, yelling loud enough for the whole street to hear. I'm calling the HOA again. I'm calling the police. This is a safety hazard. My children could have been killed. My dad came outside mid-rant, still in his work uniform, rubbing his eyes. What the hell is going on? Mrs. Blake turned on him. Your son let my children climb into that death trap. Dad stared at her for a beat, then looked up at us. Are you okay? We nodded. He turned back to her. They're fine. No one's hurt. That's not the point, she snapped. This is negligence. It's your responsibility. They could have fallen. They could have also stayed home, he said evenly. Her face flushed. You're going to regret this. She stormed off with her kids in tow, Taylor glancing back at me before disappearing through the gate. No words, just a look that said sorry and thanks and maybe see you tomorrow. The next letter from the HOA was longer. It included terms like reckless endangerment, failure to supervise minors, and potential lawsuit. They attached blurry stills from a video, presumably the one Mrs. Blake filmed, of the kids in the treehouse. One frame had me mid-smile, handing Lily a flashlight. Dad sat down with it, let out a breath and said, I'm done playing nice. He made 3 phone calls, one to a real attorney, one to the city zoning office, one to the police. By the end of the day, we had a file started. Every violation notice, every letter, photos of the treehouse, security footage, HOA bylaws printed and highlighted, dates, times, names, all going into a blue binder he labeled Blake EHOA Dispute Archive. I'll fight this, Alex, he said, but you need to be ready. They're going to keep pushing. He was right. A new notice arrived, an HOA mandated inspection, then another, a fine of $250 for unauthorized gatherings. The security camera we installed caught someone in the yard one night. We couldn't see their face, but the next morning, 2 bolts from the ladder had been removed. That Sunday, the inspector came. His smile was thin. He had a clipboard, a pen, and a HOA badge clipped to his shirt. Is this the structure in question? He asked. Dad nodded. Fully within property lines, under the height limit, reinforced, anchored, no utilities or plumbing. The man climbed halfway up the ladder, glanced around, then came down and scribbled notes. You'll get a formal report, he said. I sat in my room that night, lights off, listening to the tree creak in the wind. It wasn't fear I felt anymore. It was something else, like knowing a storm is coming, but standing still anyway. On Monday, the report came, non-compliant, immediate removal recommended. That night I climbed up alone. I brought a flashlight, a blanket, and sat cross-legged, staring out the west window. I could see the glow of porch lights, the faint hum of traffic beyond the neighborhood wall. Around midnight, I heard a noise. Someone was climbing. I grabbed the flashlight and turned it on. Taylor, out of breath, hoodie on backwards, holding a walkie-talkie. "You in trouble?" he asked. "Always," I said. He sat beside me, holding out the second walkie. "Want to keep these up here so we can talk?" I didn't say anything. I just nodded. That's when I realized something had shifted. Not with the HOA, not with Mrs. Blake, but with us, with the treehouse. It wasn't just mine anymore. It was becoming something more, something they couldn't stop. The next few days blurred together. We didn't get a break. Another letter, another violation. This one claimed we had erected a semi-permanent structure that violates architectural consistency, whatever that meant. Then came a notice that we were to appear at an HOA disciplinary hearing. My dad read the letter, lips tight. He didn't say a word, just left it on the kitchen table, grabbed his jacket and walked out into the backyard with a measuring tape and a flashlight. I watched from the window as he walked slow circles around the tree, taking notes, checking everything twice. That night we reinforced the support beams. He had a look in his eye like the day he fixed our old car alone in the snow. Gritted, cold, focused. "She wants to win," he said. "She wants to scare us. And I'll be damned if I let her bulldoze your life just because she's miserable in hers." I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. I knew he meant it. By Wednesday, something strange began happening. First, I caught a woman I didn't know slowing down as she walked her dog past the house. She looked up at the treehouse, tilted her head, smiled a little, then kept going. Later that day, a man I'd never seen before left a folded note on our porch. It said, "Built my own when I was 12. Hope the board doesn't ruin this one too. Hang in there. Tom, number 47. And then, Thursday morning, Taylor and Lily showed up again, this time with snacks. "My mom grounded us," Taylor said, holding out a grocery bag. "But she's at work." They climbed up like it was routine. I had added cushions to the floor by then, a tin box with flashlights and a deck of cards. We played Go Fish while the wind made the walls creak. That's when Taylor said, "You know she used to be fun?" I looked at him. "My mom," he said, shuffling the cards. "Before the HOA, before the whole neighborhood pride thing. She used to take us hiking, built snow forts with us. But now everything is rules, image, discipline." Lily nodded, not saying much. "She hasn't climbed a tree in years," Taylor added. "She told me trees are for squirrels," Lily said softly. We laughed, and I could tell it wasn't just about the joke. It was about something deeper. Some invisible weight they were trying to lift by just being kids again, even for an hour. When they left, I gave them each a small carved piece of wood from the scraps I'd saved. Just a circle with their initials burned in. They stared at them like I'd handed them treasure. That weekend, the hearing happened. HOA meetings were usually quiet, procedural, attended by about 4 bored retirees. Not this one. The rec center parking lot was full. Folding chairs lined the walls. Cameras flashed. Mrs. Blake sat at the front, clipboard in hand, lips pressed tight. She looked composed, until Amanda, the secretary, announced, "We've had over 30 emails from residents in support of Mr. Parker and his son, several of whom are present today." Dottie blinked. My dad stood, holding the binder in one hand. "I'd like to present evidence of compliance," he said. "Photos, measurements, video footage, and documentation from 2 certified inspectors. 1 city, 1 private." He handed it all over. Clean, tabbed, precise. "And," he added, "a petition signed by 41 residents stating they have no issue with the treehouse and believe it adds value, not detracts from the community." Gasps, murmurs. Mrs. Blake shifted in her seat. Amanda flipped through the binder, lips pursed, then looked at the board. "I see no violation here that warrants forced removal." "But the children," Mrs. Blake blurted. "He lets them climb up there unsupervised." "They're his guests," Amanda replied, "and their safety is their own parents' responsibility." Dottie looked like she was about to explode. Instead, she stood up abruptly. "This is not over," she said, voice trembling. She left before the vote was even called. That night, Taylor showed up alone. I thought he was sneaking in again, but when he reached the top, he said, "She saw the carvings, asked where I got them. And I told her the truth." He paused. "And she didn't yell, just sat on the porch." I waited. "She said it reminded her of when she was a girl. Said she used to build forts with her brothers in an orange grove." He glanced out the treehouse window. "Maybe she's not all bad," he said. "The change didn't happen overnight, and at first I didn't believe it was real." 2 days after the hearing, the usual HOA letter stopped. No more citations, no more inspection threats. And Dottie Blake, Mrs. Clipboard herself, didn't storm past our yard or scowl from behind her hedges. Instead, she walked slowly by with her dog, nodded once toward the tree, and kept going. I told Dad. He raised an eyebrow. "Truce?" I asked. He shook his head. "No such thing with people like her. Just silence. For now." But that silence carried weight, the kind that feels like something's about to shift again. On Friday, I was in the treehouse doing homework when I heard whispering below. Then a voice I hadn't heard up close before. "Taylor said this was better than a playground." I looked out the side and saw two kids, probably 6 or 7 years old, staring up in awe. Their mom trailed behind, frazzled, tired, holding a phone and a juice pouch. "Guys, I don't think—" "It's okay," I called down. "They can come up, if that's all right with you." She looked surprised, then nodded. 5 minutes. I climbed down and helped them up, Mia and Caleb. The first thing they asked, "Do you sleep here?" I laughed. "Only when I'm escaping math homework." We played cards for 10 minutes. They didn't want to leave. When they did, their mom said quietly, "Thank you. You don't know what this means to them. It's been a rough few months." I didn't ask, just nodded. Later that evening, Dad and I sat on the porch watching the street. A few houses down, a group of kids played with sidewalk chalk. I hadn't seen that in weeks. On Sunday morning, the unexpected happened. Mrs. Blake rang our doorbell. She didn't have a clipboard or a letter, just a Tupperware container and an awkward expression. "Banana bread," she said. My dad opened the door wider. "Excuse me." She glanced at me, then back at him. I thought, maybe I should come talk. We didn't invite her in, but we stood there in the doorway. "I've been harsh," she said. "I thought I was protecting the neighborhood. I forgot what it was like to be a kid." My dad nodded, cautious. "I saw the treehouse up close," she added. "Taylor took me up. It's not what I expected." A long pause. "I won't file anything else. I've asked the HOA to stop pursuing it." I looked at her, unsure if this was another game. But something in her face had changed. Not softer, just tired. Like she'd stopped fighting something only she could see. "Thank you," I said quietly. She nodded once, left the bread, and walked away. Dad closed the door slowly. "I'll test it for poison," he muttered, and I burst out laughing. Later that afternoon, Taylor came by. "She deleted the videos," he said. "All of them." "No backup drive?" He grinned. "She's not that good with tech." We sat in the treehouse and watched the sun go down. The light poured through the leaves, casting gold across the floor. Lily joined us before dark. Then Mia and Caleb. Then another girl I didn't know. Soon we had 6 kids crammed inside, eating chips, passing around a flashlight like a campfire. Someone whispered, "Tell a scary story." So I made one up, about a haunted HOA president who gets stuck in a spreadsheet and haunts property records forever. Everyone laughed, even me, because for the first time since we moved here, the laughter felt like ours. Not borrowed, not allowed. Ours. The last surprise came not from Dottie Blake, but from the HOA itself. A week after the final banana bread truce, a letter arrived in our mailbox. Only this one wasn't a citation. It was handwritten, on official letterhead, and signed by Amanda, the HOA secretary. "On behalf of the board, I want to formally apologize for the distress caused to you and your son. The treehouse is not in violation of any standing regulations. In fact, several members believe it's a wonderful addition to the neighborhood. Thank you for showing us all what resilience and community really look like." My dad read it aloud. then folded it with a small smile. Well, he said, you broke them. I looked up from the treehouse window, the wind tugging at the fabric flag I'd made, stitched from an old t-shirt, hanging on a pole at the highest branch. It flapped above the street like a quiet challenge. We hadn't just broken them, we'd changed them. The next Saturday, something incredible happened. Taylor and Lily's mom, Dottie Blake, stood in the middle of our yard with a clipboard again. Only this time, she wasn't issuing violations. She was helping organize a block party. She handed my dad a form. Permission to use your driveway and front lawn for refreshments. Thought the kids could run a lemonade stand. And maybe we could, showcase the treehouse? My dad blinked. You serious? She nodded, a little embarrassed. We could put up a safety rope, she added quickly, and I'll sign a waiver. The party was set for the following weekend. Tables, lawn chairs, plastic cups, cheap music from someone's Bluetooth speaker. Someone brought a grill. Someone else brought a cotton candy machine. But the star of the day was the treehouse. By mid-afternoon, it was a rotating carnival of sneakers, giggles, flashlights, juice boxes, and wide eyes. Parents stood below chatting. A few climbed up themselves. Even Mr. Andrews, who used to complain about trash bins left out too long, took a turn sitting in the doorway, sipping lemonade like a king. Toward sunset, Mrs. Blake climbed up too. She sat on the floor beside me, quiet. Looked around at the walls, the old cushions, the scraps of drawings the kids had taped up. She ran a hand along the wood grain. I remember building something like this with my brothers in New Jersey, she said. Ours had a tin roof, leaked when it rained. I said nothing. She looked at me. I was wrong, Alex. I let the rules become more important than people. I met her eyes. It's okay. You helped make it better in the end. She exhaled, nodded. I still hate clutter, but I like this place. That night, after the last folding chair was packed up and the treehouse emptied, I climbed up alone. The branches creaked. The wind moved through them gently. From up here, everything was different. The street looked smaller, softer. Our home didn't feel temporary anymore. I took out my journal and wrote something across the back page. This isn't just wood and nails. It's proof that something good can survive anything, even a Karen.